Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Sarah, is everybody up to date on their taxes?
Yes.
Okay, and then you also sent around minutes for October, right? The revised minutes for October. Any comments from any of the board members on the October minutes? No? Well, then can I have a motion to approve the October minutes? All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Okay, so the minutes are approved. So for this evening, this is the order of the items on the agenda. First will be 2018-17, 11 North Ecker Street. Second will be 2018-14, 99 Bracebridge Lane. Third will be 2018-18, 40 Riverview Road. Fourth will be 2018-15, 3 Shady Lane. Fifth will be 2018-20, 21 Matheson Park, and sixth will be 2018-19, 18 Meadowbrook Road. So with that, we'll call the first item, which is 2018-17, 11 North Ecker Street, John and Stacy Padani.
You must have got the fire squad on here.
I did, but it has the house across the street.
Well, we gave you the address.
Yeah. At 143,
Somebody ambulance, the police?
Just the police, no ambulance.
Oh.
I saw the ambulance come down the road, but that's not for us. I hope. Not yet, anyway.
Douglas McClure, the architect for the Pisanis at 11 North Ecker. I've addressed all the issues that were brought up at the last meeting. Doug Hahn sent a new memo pointing out that I'd neglected to provide pictures of the underground system, so I have some photos here for everyone. You can see the leaders go into the ground and off to a mystery. Oops, one page. A mystery location.
Doug, could you just repeat that at the microphone?
Yes, so you can see in the images the leader to the ground to some unknown location. There are 4 leaders, one at each corner of the building. So there are 4 photos there. The note, his note number 5 about adding some additional verbiage to the note, that's fine. We can take care of that. It's already been taken care of. And then number 6, the response letter states that the coverage and FAR figures are not to scale, but graphic scales have been provided. That's poor grammar on my part. What I meant was that the coverage and FAR figures are not to an architectural scale. I zoomed them to fit a window, but the scale piece, you can use that.
The scale is not identified.
Exactly, because it's something like, who knows?
Doug's scale.
Any comments from any of the board members on this matter?
We don't, and there's a note on the drawings that as we do the work, if we come across it, we have to we will address it.
You've done that before.
Yes.
And you're okay with that? And you're okay with that?
In the downtown area, we've done that before. When we were there, we were very concerned about them tied into the public sewer. So we want to find out where they go.
Okay.
Such a tie-in would violate an ordinance, county ordinance.
Yeah, I understand.
Call you back.
It's hard to know at this point until we hire a contractor and start doing probes and things. So, and the ones in the back, I don't know how they would tie to the sewer in the front because they're below. So I would assume there
might be a dry well back there.
I would assume there might be a dry well back there, but it's hard to know.
All right. Okay. Any other comments?
No.
Any comments from anyone in the audience on this matter? All right. Mary Ann, do you have a resolution on this?
In October 2018, John and Stacy Pisani applied for Site development plan approval for renovations, including a new deck and bay window on their house at 11 North Ecker Street, which is located in the View Preservation and Historic Overlay Districts. The improvements require variances for coverage and incursions into the side yard setbacks. Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated October 2nd listed a number of issues, most of which were addressed in a subsequent submission. The Planning Board held a public hearing on the application on October 3rd and November 7th. Proposed improvements would not impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties, and the action is a type 2 action under SECR and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Pisani Residence, and I list the 14 drawings prepared by McSee Architecture, subject to 1, replacing the bay window with a window or windows flush with the exterior elevation, 2, obtaining coverage and setback variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and 3, complying with the items listed in Han's memorandum dated November 6th.
Any comments from any board members on the resolution? No. Can I have a motion then to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
You still have to go to the ZBA, obviously.
Give one copy to her.
All right. Next item is 2018-14, Tracy Calvin and Gordon Ferry, 99 Bracebridge Lane.
Good evening. Claudia Schroeder for Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing our clients, Calvin Fieri. We received the letter from the building department, and we understand we addressed all the comments on our last submission, and there is no objection to approve this project.
I think there was one comment, it wasn't on Han's memo, but it was in the memo from our landscape architect regard to, I think, the proposed green giant arborvitae that will be placed closer to the tower that you're constructing on the site. One, the correct size of the green giant arborvitae in the plant list on sheet A-0.12 to indicate 8 feet as the initial planted size and 30 feet as the mature size. I think that's what's supposed to be in there, and I think that it's shown as being 5 feet.
The corrected size that was requested was for another planting, I believe, not for the new proposed one.
Well, I think rather than taking time on this, I think, Mary Ann, you noted it in the resolution that that's what has to be in there. So why don't we just go, that's what's supposed to be, that's what was agreed to between Suzanne Nolan, the village's consultant, landscape
Okay.
architect, and John Malone. So I think that's what has to be shown on the plan, and the approval will be subject to
Okay.
that, and that's listed in the resolution.
All right.
All right? Any other comments from any of the board members? on
Yeah,
this
I
item?
seem to remember there was an access issue for the construction of, but I think that was resolved.
Right, I think you came in with a letter from the adjoining
Yeah,
property
I
owner
thought
saying that
so.
you have to
Yes.
cross over.
And we included the notes on the plans as well.
Okay. Any other comments from any of the board members? No? Any comments from anyone in the audience on this matter? No? Mary Ann, anything?
Yeah, and Tracy Calvin and Gordon Fury applied for site development plan approval to construct an addition to their house at 99 Bracebridge Lane and to enlarge an existing driveway, reconstruct a barn on the site, and install related improvements. Originally submitted plans proposed removing trees in the Oak Road and the aqueduct, which removals were eliminated from subsequently submitted plans. The applicant's property is located in the View Preservation Overlay District and adjacent to the Oak Road and the aqueduct, and much of the proposed work will be done in the OCA buffer. The proposed improvements require variances for coverage encroachment into the side yard exceeding FAR in addition to work in the OCA. On October 23, 2018, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted variances for encroachment into the side yard exceeding allowable coverage, exceeding allowable FAR, and intrusion into the Croton Aqueduct buffer on the condition that the applicants relocate the air conditioning the unit close to the structure with the top no higher than the adjacent retaining wall and with plants shielding the unit from view from public areas on the aqueduct. Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated July 10th, September 5th, and September 28th listed a number of issues which were all addressed in subsequent submissions. Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made a number of suggestions, most of which were incorporated in subsequent plans. The Planning Board conducted a site visit with the village's landscape consultant in September 2018. The Planning Board held a public hearing on the application on July 11th, September 5th, October 3rd, and November 7th. The proposed improvements will not negatively impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties or adjacent rights of way. It's a type 2 action under SECRA. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Calvin Fury Residence, all prepared by Ferguson Malone Architecture, and the drawings entitled Proposed Additions and Alterations, prepared by Hudson Engineering, subject to 1, correcting the size of the green giant arborvitae in the plant list on sheet A12 to indicate 8 feet is the initial planted size and 30 feet is the mature size, and 2, complying with the ZBA's conditions in its written decision dated October 25th, 2018.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
You gotta give me a copy of that.
The next item is 2018-18, Andrew Cortez, 40 Riverview Road.
Can you just skip us? We're waiting for the architect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 4, 2018-15, yeah, correct. Brooke Bridges and Andre Frank, 3 Shady Lane, correct.
Good evening. I'm Brandon Stewart, representing Michael Lewis Architects. We received the HAN memorandum yesterday, and also a phone call. We worked through one of the issues. Most of the comments deal with getting some of the exhibits that we've previously submitted onto the large sheets and incorporating them into the larger set, and resubmitting the whole set with elevations and everything. So we'll do that. Our understanding from previous submittals was that we were only requested to submit sheets to which changes had been made in subsequent submittals, but has that changed, or just for our future?
We've always expected complete applications because we can't approve incomplete submission at the end, and then we would have to review every page and cut and paste, and
I see. So
may include or exclude, or you may delete something on one page or reference something to another page.
Right. Okay, so
it's never worked out.
So full sets, okay. And then there's a couple of other small things, providing more detail on how a barrier will be developed at the edge of the tall portion of the retaining wall is clear, and we can provide detail on that. We spoke to Doug about moving the infiltration system slightly to the north so as to get even a little bit more distance from the septic field. Currently, there's about 60 feet, and I think the requirement is 50, but there's some space here, we can shift it forward. There was also some errors on the invert elevations that were correct.
Well, I think one of the issues is that, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the issues is, though, that you were concerned that the septic field had not been identified on the plans. And there was concern as to where this stormwater
I'm concerned
runoff
about our dry wells impacting this existing septic system, and creating an adverse condition downhill. I'm also concerned that we diminish the use of the septic field by disturbing any area that's near it. And I'm also concerned about disturbing the area that may be the reserve area in the future. So I'm troubled by,
Even moving it to 10 feet that they're talking about, that still is not
I'm
sufficient.
still in trouble because of those reasons.
Yeah.
It's,
You seem to know where the
it
septic
was-
is, so you
yeah,
don't know where the fields are.
right.
Right, and we discussed this with Doug in terms of what type of
Yeah.
system it is.
And also, wasn't sure if something outlets from that tank, seepage pit, whatever it is exactly.
No, it doesn't have to be seepage, but this is so old and it's a brick chamber.
Yeah.
It may have leaks, it may not, I shouldn't use the word leaks, it may have discharges or that are disturbed and that can be brought to surface. So I'd like to stay as far away from it, and I'd like to stay away from any future area that's possible reserve area.
The
This is
reserve
my
area,
concern.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to put it in the driveway, I don't want to suggest putting it in the driveway, but I don't want to hold the job up, and you've done a great effort of trying to find it.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine, and I think the only reason it's here is just it seemed to be a clearing that would
no,
impact the leach
if we
trees,
knew what the
but,
septic system was, it'd be fine, but I don't see an easy comfort level.
yeah,
It's more of a comfort level for future problems.
right, okay.
So what do you suggest then? Is it going to have to do more test?
I
testing
I
to
would just
find
rather
out
they
where
put it in the
field is?
driveway or right against the driveway.
Yeah, that's fine too.
I mean, I don't
You
care
can
if
put
they
them in
right
a
off
line.
the driveway, because then it's a feet of a structure, so.
And I guess,
Septic tank.
Yeah.
there's a requirement that it's, if it occurs in areas where construction activity has occurred, then the soil has to be recompacted or whatever, so we would just, I
Yeah,
guess we
but
could
you
place
put
it.
there. You can put it there first and fence it off.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, so maybe right along the driveway,
mm-hmm,
10 feet away from the house.
yeah, that works,
Maybe send the location over, email it, and then we'll look at it.
okay, that sounds good. In terms of the field itself, when they had the excavator back there, without really digging up more than they thought they should, we weren't able to determine more than this. But this location, if we provide dimensions to it, is that enough for the,
Well, we're not digging here, so
yeah, okay, so it's fine,
you can leave it as is.
great.
As long as you're not digging in the future reserve area, or you're not digging where a field may be, I think.
Okay.
You're okay with that?
There was one other, unless there's other septic and infiltration systems.
In the street system.
There was one, there was a comment about the tributary areas not matching up with the proposed coverage. I wasn't able to find the difference, so I guess we can work on that offline. And then the only other thing I just had some questions on was some of the landscape architect's comments. It was a little unclear. When we had submitted previously, if you remember, there was a large parking area proposed on the driveway in our first submittal. And her comments then seemed to be less intensive as the comments now that we've removed that and are impacting less trees. So I know she's not here to speak for herself, but we were confused. It says there's a certified arborist report. So I just wanted to point out, we're removing 4 trees, all 4 of the additions. So there's not trees on the periphery that we're removing needlessly. And we're proposing 4 replacement trees. And their species and diameters at breast height are spelled out as well. So I wasn't clear on what the need was for the arborist's report, whether she was talking about just the existing trees or that are to be removed, or the existing trees that are to remain that she wants to see a report on. So
You can speak to Suzanne directly, but I'm sure she's talking about the trees that are proposed to be removed. What is their genus, species, and what's their condition? I think that's what she wants to know.
No, but he's asking about, you said you wanted to hear from an arborist.
A certified arborist
And I
report.
think what he's saying, they have to come down no matter what the condition.
Yeah, they're in the
area.
developmental area.
Right. So, I mean, I can see if they were in an area where it may not need to be removed, I can see why we'd want to get into the nitty-gritty about its current state. So,
Why don't you just offline, why don't you just discuss that with her? And if she's
Okay.
okay with what you've
we'll
given.
reach out to her. That sounds good.
That's okay. You're going to have to come back anyway with the with the revised site plan, so you can discuss that with her, and also with Doug and Ed about the other issues, and then revise the plans and come back on for the next submission, and then I would hope. Do you have any other comments? that you wanted to make?
I think that was it.
Members, if they have any comments?
What was I hope there wasn't an intent to do a tree survey for the entire property.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well,
No, it's just what was,
Just the
I think she's
the
looking.
four removals and the four replacements.
that's right. And she did make a comment about she wanted to see species and DBHs for all trees, which we provided on the survey. We had the surveyor provide that information. So that's why we've just been a little concerned that her comments seem to get bigger and bigger rather than smaller. So I guess we'll work with her offline to decide.
You know, it could be that she was concerned about some of the trees that are close to the limit of disturbance, and what their size and species is, and whether they're impacted by putting the stormwater management system where you're placing it. Does it impact any of the trees in your scruffed-in tree
drip line.
area? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you know, I can speak to her too and see if there's any issues with that. Any other comments? Any comments from anyone in the audience on this matter? No, I think you should just
Okay.
address those issues, and we'll see you next month or the month thereafter.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back. Number 3, folks all here now. 2018-18 Andrew Cortez, 40 Riverview Road.
I'm Christina Griffin. I'm the architect for this project. We received comments from Home Engineering, and I opened up right to our section to address his comments about the height. This is our cross section, and we've cut down the height of the house since the first time we're here, and it's our intention to meet the code for the maximum height. And 7-foot attic, and we are, which is under.
Christine, you're going to take the microphone with you, right?
Our attic is under the 7'6" height, so it wouldn't count in the FAR calculations. And we have 40 feet from the lowest to the highest, from the lowest grade to the ridge. Now, we know there's a few discrepancies between the architectural and civil engineering drawings, and we plan to go through them carefully to make sure that those are corrected. He mentioned something, a height of 8'3", but
Yeah, that your measurement
I didn't
should
see
be
that.
to the top, to the inside of
Oh, you mean to the ridge, to the,
Just gotta come down a little bit more.
okay. I thought maybe it could be to the collar type, but we can make that work, sure. Okay. And then most of the items on this list, in terms of the architectural drawings, we can take care of, and we plan to. Just they're small items. With regard to the next comment on the list, or I say number 3, related to the work on the steep slopes, I'd like to have our civil engineer discuss that, or maybe the landscape architect, because they developed the drawings for that. This is Mike Schreiber.
Good evening, my name is Mike Shriver. Christina's addressing number 3 about the steep slopes.
Excuse me, are you with HEC Engineering, or are you with the landscape?
No, I'm with MWM Designs. This is This is,
Who is MWM? Because I didn't see anything listed about MWM.
that's me. That's me. I failed to, that was addressed on one of the comments. But number 3, currently, we addressed some of the concerns from the board about the location of the pool and some of the wall heights, specifically on the eastern portion. Currently, the property is a rather large property with a lot of unusable land past the rear face of the home. A lot of the slopes from the rear of the home, the existing home, to the rear property line are in the neighborhood of 50%. We are trying to reduce the sheet flow by slowing down, by changing the grade and the slope to bring it to 33 to 40%. Also by allowing a lot of more infiltration by plantings and lawns. Currently there is a large rock outcropping that we're proposing to fill so allow more infiltration. Some of the lower side of the walls and the slope we're intending to restore with understory planting and trying to preserve the lower half of the yard. In order to gain usability on the upper half of the backyard, we do have to make some grade changes. The grade change is also an effort to install the Coltech chambers. They do require, I believe, a 15% slope maximum, and unfortunately, even due with existing, that chamber would have to be located in the lower third of the yard if we're unable to use retaining walls and regrade this middle portion of the rear yard. Going back to the town's comments from last board meeting, we did relocate the pool. If you do remember, it ran perpendicular, rather large wall that was going to be visible here. We addressed some of the grading so you have a less visible wall. You only have about 1.5 to 2 foot wall, and then as it grades down to about 8 feet. So this 6 feet. So this neighbor would be looking at a 6 foot wall, but we intend on installing a privacy fence as well as a row of evergreen trees to hide it even more so. And then on this side, this wall again is a 3 and a 4 foot high wall with the same fence condition and planting proposed on that side as well to try to hide that. Down below this property, the town of Irvington owns everything past the rear property line, and so there would be no obviously visible pool wall or secondary wall, because we did cut down the wall after comments made due to visibility. We also intend to address all the comments made by Han Engineering as they're really just tidying up plans and such.
Okay. Any other comments from any of your team?
Oh, yeah.
Well, nothing really to add.
Abada from Hudson Engineering. Again, just to further emphasize the point about visibility. This is the property here. To the rear is a vacant lot that belongs to the town. This neighbor here, again, not much visibility here, and I think Mr. Cortese spoke with her. She doesn't seem to have an issue with this wall. Same thing as far as we know with this neighbor, and then anyone past that can't really see much of the retaining wall or anything proposed in the rear yard.
How about, if we go back to item 3 in Doug Hahn's letter, there are a couple of items in the zoning ordinance that the planning board is charged with reviewing in terms of site plan approval and looking at issues with a particular site. And they're in Doug's letter, and I'd just like to read them to you. One is the planning board shall minimize building on and clearing of portions of sites which have slopes of 15% or more and on land with unusual geological features which the planning board determines to be worthy of preservation, and shall impose such conditions on the development of parcels, including steep slopes, as it concludes are conducive to minimizing stormwater runoff, erosion, and adverse visual impact. And then 12, the next item also is the natural topography of the site should be preserved to the greatest extent practicable, and the use of cut and fill shall be minimized. You know, I took a walk out there a couple of days ago, and what I noticed is the house immediately to the west of you and the two houses immediately to the east of the particular site. All of them have yards that are extremely steep. It seems like those four houses are at the steepest slopes of this ravine that runs down into the village property.
Yep.
And none of them are developed in the backyard.
I will say, though, there are these two properties here which had similar grading and which are, even in these photos, being developed in the rear to a certain extent.
Well,
I believe one of these retaining walls here is quite high as well.
I don't believe, let me just say, I don't believe I was on the planning board when those were approved. Okay, and I'm looking at it now from the point of view that we have steep slopes here, we have a natural woodland in the back of all four of those houses that's not being developed at this point. And I think what's being proposed here is a radical change to the environmental conditions that are going to be back there. You're taking steep slopes, again, you said it, I think Doug mentioned it, and I calculated it out too. You're somewhere between, I don't know, 30 to 50% slopes in the backyard. And in some instances, you're creating a steeper slope even. Once you put those walls in, you're going to have a 40% slope beyond the retaining walls. And you're also showing something on your plans, which I don't even understand, these scattered rocks. I don't know what the heck they're supposed to do on a 40% slope to stabilize it. So I just think that, as far as I'm concerned, what's being proposed is a major environmental and change to the character of the area. And I'm really, you know, I have problems with it. And I'd like to hear from the other board members as far as that's concerned, too.
Yeah, the other fellow's opening statement, when you said from the back of the house downhill is unusable. Well, I agree with you. It's very steep. It's going to get steeper. There's 6-foot walls. You're bringing in 10 foot of fill or 11 feet of fill.
In a wedge.
However it's shaped, it's 10 feet. I mean, that's a dramatic change in the topography. I mean, and then the boat, like you said, I don't know what the boulders are doing down there. And you're going to create I mean, all that silt and runoff is going to run down to the village property. Is that near the marshlands there?
Well, I don't know exactly. It does, and it's not, it's open space, but it's not shown as a kind of wetland.
I sent you guys the,
Right.
I mean,
determination.
I didn't look at the structure. Who's the structural engineer here? Do you have a structural engineer?
No.
I mean, is the structure of the pool going to stay there, or is it going to slide down the hill?
Oh, it will stay there. I've
And you're, why?
because I worked for a pool company that built pools on steep slopes. Oh, yeah, actually, I can show you a pool that they're currently constructing. The pool wall is the structure.
And when you put the weight of the water in the pool wall, and it's not going to move?
You do a double mat of rebar, and you shoot a thicker gunite wall, and you do a rather substantial footing underneath.
Those are rather intangible, substantial footing. They would have to be looked at very carefully by the building inspector.
Yeah, well, typically gunite pool walls are between 8 and 10 inches on a typical flat landscape. You probably would do a 12-inch pool beam wall with a double mat of rebar.
Anyway, I still can't get away from the 11-foot of fill, the steep slope that's going to get steeper.
Well, currently you do have 50%, more greater than 50% slope just traveling through the backyard currently that exists.
Right, and that's why the house is built on the site where it is. It was built on the right location, the closest to the road where it's relatively flat. I mean, once you get to the rear wall of that house, it's
just downhill
all the way.
Absolutely.
Downhill all the way, and that's why it hasn't been built upon. That house has a deck on the second floor. The house to your east has a deck on it, doesn't have anything in the backyard. The house to the west of you has a deck on it and has a small patio, probably without 5 or 6 feet out from the house, and that's it. And then again, this house and the houses on either side of it are probably at the steepest slope of that ravine, and that's why they weren't built in the backyard. And they're natural wooded areas, and what's being proposed is to completely change the character of this backyard, which opens it up to change the character of the other backyards, and I don't think that's what the planning board is charged with looking at in the zoning ordinance. So I just have a lot of problems with it. Again, I'm still waiting to hear from other board members here too. Hillary or George, if you have comments.
I would take the pool. I would take the pool out.
I think you have to speak up a little bit.
I remember the backyard from before, but I would work without the pool. Your pool is going to distort your whole backyard because you're going to have to do a lot of fill and a lot of walls, and I think that the planning board you're probably better off working without the pool.
Right, I mean, we didn't get into the trees though.
No, I mean, it's just, that's what I was saying, it's taking a woodland and just making it into terraced lands, grassed areas, basically, once you're done. You're completely changing the woodland aspect, woodland character of the backyard there.
So,
Excuse me, and I also don't think that you've identified all the trees out there. That was another issue, because again, I was out there with the landscape architect. We looked at it and it didn't seem that all the trees were identified. And the other issue on the plans is that the landscape plan doesn't match up with the demolition plan, doesn't match up with Heck's plan. There is no consistency among the plans, and whoever is running the show on this job ought to get the act together and have you all submit the same plan, because you're not. And it makes it, you're just wasting our time and you're wasting the applicant's time and money by not submitting plans that coincide.
a lot of the trees on the site are saplings.
And a lot of them are major trees.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. There are a majority of large diameter trees.
You came here last time.
Correct.
And we sort of said, your statement was that you're going for a minimal approach. And that's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you heard from this board that we just simply didn't believe that what you were proposing was minimal at all. And there was big concerns about how this section and how this cut and fill that you're planning to do. And we thought that, at least I thought, you understood that fairly well. I went to the site after, just recently as well, and it had rained the day before, and it was still wet, and I went into the backyard. I almost fell down.
Oh,
Okay?
I believe that.
And it is a ravine that is looking out into a purely natural setting. So as planning board, it's virtually impossible to conceive of this being appropriate given the context of what this site is. Your client bought this site understanding, or should have understood, the topography of this place and what those impacts are. And by simply just erasing that and trying to do something else and saying that it's minimal, it just doesn't, from a planning perspective, it doesn't work. So again, I would not be supportive at all of this. And we don't even see any site sections here. I mean, there's no concept even or descriptiveness of what you're proposing. You talk about this or that, but the difference between being out there and what you're showing on your plans is significant. And you just need to do a better job of describing what you're doing. And I don't know about the coordination stuff, but as a site plan, I think you need to readdress your concept here.
I think you've heard from the 4 members here.
Okay.
So we are not supportive of what's being proposed in the backyard of this site.
From the pool perspective.
Pardon me?
From a pool perspective.
Yeah. And from the removal of every tree that is within the landscaped area that you're proposing, and you even have to remove trees in the front yard to be able to get your equipment in the backyard to be able to do what you want to do. And again, those plans don't line up, so I'm not even sure what trees are staying and what trees are coming down. You really need to get these plans all together.
Did you calculate how many cubic yards of fill you need?
I believe it was around 400.
400 cubic
Yeah.
yards. How many?
No, 200. I believe it's 250. 250, I'm sorry.
We need to check that.
Okay.
You know, honestly, you just have to, it sounds like you have to do a better job of putting together a package for this.
Hi, how you doing, board members? I'm the applicant Andrew Cortese. I just wanted to say a few words about the project. We're just trying to do a few things here, trying to level off the backyard and try to get a little, recreation area for the house. My background is doing site work for over 25 years. I actually did 44 Riverview, the whole backyard, tiered it probably in the late 90s. So I understand the conditions and the amount of work that goes into it. But we understand your concerns. We're going to readdress and take a look at the best way to address this moving forward, try to minimize the impact.
I think what you're hearing, though, is you ought to eliminate that pool.
Mm-hmm.
Number one. And number two, do what you can to preserve what is out there now, not to change it radically.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Even in the front yard, too, you're putting that hammerhead in there. I mean, I don't know how many trees have to come out because of that, but I know there are trees around the side of that house that have to come out in order for you to be able to get in the backyard to do the work that you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you've got to take a look at this. The house is, as I said, the house is in the right location. It was built in the right location, and it's got a deck off the second floor. Right, because they understood it's a 50% slope back there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not usable, and and it's natural, and that's the way it should remain. That's the way this board wants to see it as much. I speak for myself. That's the way I want to see it as much as possible. As I said, there are 4 houses old, adjoining, and steepest portion of this ravine, and they all slope down, and none of them have done any work in the backyard to this extent. So, any other comments from the board?
Nor would they get, if they were to come here, they would be hearing the same things.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just trying to be.
No, it's
Yeah, it's not just you.
Yes, I gotcha. All right. So we'll be back next month. We'll revise it and try to come up with a better plan.
Right.
Thank you.
Any comments from anyone in the audience on this matter? Doug, Ray, did you have any comments? No. Okay, good, thanks. Okay, 2018-20, Barbara Cohen, 21 Matheson Park.
Claudia Schrader for Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing our client, Ms. Cohen. We received the letter with the comments regarding this project. This is a simple construction of a garden area with some hardscape around it, a brick walk, and bluestone steps. We will address the comments. We will provide the required documentation. We only had a question on comment number 2. We understand the location is in the view preservation of the district, and we should verify that it will not be a negative impact of the Hudson River views. This is flat work, so we wanted to know what was the best way of address this, if just including a note, or in the past we provided pictures of the project. We've sketched on top of the picture mostly the additions of the properties and the houses. Would notes be sufficient, or could we provide with the pictures and address that is flat work and there won't be any impact?
Hey, take a photo from the property, your property line, at the next neighbor inland from you, so looking towards the Hudson River, showing the area where you're doing the work, and that it's all flat work, just so we have a record of it.
Okay.
Is that sufficient? Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Okay.
That's about it.
And a quick explanation.
Yes, a note including,
And then you really have to, you have to update the plans to include all of the additional work that's been done. Right, wasn't that one of the issues here, Doug, on this?
there's no additional work, and there are some notes on dimensions on details, a couple of other details that we need to include, some demolition, and the major one was the as-built survey from the previous work, which was on the driveway, which we already requested.
Sorry, what did you?
No, when we were discussing this, were there some issues that the survey or the plan did not show all of the latest work being done?
Yeah, so we added that. We added that for number one, that'll be.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yeah,
So,
we-
okay, fine.
Yes.
So then we'll have everything to date.
Okay. So, yeah, I think if you address those, any comments from any of the board members on this? No. Any comments from anyone in the public on this matter? No. So I think if you just address those, you'll
Thank
get
you.
this done next time. Thank you. And the last item is 2018-19 Jacob Staberski, 18 Meadowbrook Road.
Good evening. Matthew Burns, I'm the architect representing the application. This is for a one-story addition to the rear of the existing residence. There is also some roof work going on. It's an existing 1.5-story residence to raise the roof and provide additional floor space. It is all within the existing footprint, however. We do need a variance for lot coverage. Lot is undersized, and there is also a front yard setback restriction that's existing that will be affected. We've received the comments from Han Engineering. We're addressing those now. And understanding that based on the location of the property, we need to come back next month.
It appeared that there was, on one of the elevations, it appeared that there was a change, I guess, to the front
To the front,
portico
yeah.
or the porch.
Yeah, so there's an existing small front portico here, and I think this was also in Doug's comments. It's not enclosed, the walkway, I mean, the new entrance, it's not enclosed. It has a cover on it, though. And the cover's going out over this. I should update this drawing to show that, but it's not enclosed.
And so what you're going to do is you're going to...
The landing that's there.
And make it 2 stories?
No, it's a single story. There is a vertical element here at the front elevation that brings that up a little bit higher, just because the house is very flat and very low. That's just going to kind of give it a little bit of vertical element to it. So.
Okay.
But it's really just on the facade.
Let me just make sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the new covered entrance.
Right, that.
Correct.
Yes, that area right above the...
This is only 1 story.
Okay.
This is the overhang, supported by a column here and a wall on this side, but it's not enclosed, it's open.
Okay, and so what is this vertical element? Yeah.
This vertical element is just a facade. It's basically gonna be surface mounted to the front of the wall, where we raise the roof up.
Back against the house? Or
It's gonna be 6 inches out from the existing face of the house, and then it's gonna extend up above the roof line,
Okay. Okay.
just to give it a little depth.
Right. Oh, so it's not like you're building a 2-story column?
I can understand why it looks that way, but it's
Yeah,
not, right. This only comes out 6 inches from the face of the existing wall.
And that will show up on the plan.
Yes.
Any comments from any of the board members? No? Any?
It's on the aqueduct, right? It's on the
It's
side of
the
the
rear property is on the aqueduct, yes.
There's no infringement, there's nothing.
No, we're off the 30-foot buffer, which is shown.
Any comments from anyone in the public?
Did we talk about the line? You got 2 lines for the fabric. We talked about the line on.
Yeah, I showed a 50-foot buffer, but it's 30, right?
That's 30.
I'll fix that. And we don't encroach on it.
Okay. Any comments? No? All right, I think just address those items and
I will.
see you next month.
Thank you.
Got a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Or adjourn? Thank you. Thank you, sir.